हेलो एवरीवन, वेलकम टू टेक्स्ट बुक सुपर कोचिंग फॉर रेगुलेटरी बॉडीज। कैसे आप सब लोग? और आज के सेशन में आप सबका स्वागत है। सो वी आर गोइंग टू डिस्कस सम इंपॉर्टेंट करंट अफेयर्स, स्पेशली फोकसिंग ऑन द आरबीआई and NABARD exam. So I'll start with the session, but before going to start this session, before going to start today's lecture, if you have any questions, any queries, any kind of doubts, so please let me know in the comment section. In today's session, we will talk about few cabinet announcements which were in news yesterday, as well as we are going to cover few MCQs focusing on government of India's budget presentation, as well as some important economic part, and then we'll focus rest of the news. So once again, very good morning to each one of you. Yes, we'll start with the session. First of all, we'll discuss about the few MCQs. Yes, again, before going to start this session, those who are yet to subscribe our channel, those who are yet to फॉलो दिस चैनल, प्लीज एक बार चैनल को सब्सक्राइब कर दीजिएगा, ताकि आने वाले समय में सारे सेशंस की जानकारी, सारे सेशंस के नोटिफिकेशन भी आपके पास रहेंगे। ओके, सो शुरू करते हैं, स्टार्ट करते हैं आज के लेक्चर को। सबसे पहले वी आर गोइंग टू रिवाइज फ्यू थिंग्स, वी आर गोइंग टू डिस्कस फ्यू एमसीक्यूज। द फर्स्ट एमसीक्यू इज ऑन योर स्क्रीन. Sri Swaminathan, Deputy Governor, Reserve Bank of India, recently delivered a speech at the Conference of Asset Reconstruction Companies held at Mumbai. Which of the following statement about the asset reconstruction company is correct? So which statement regarding ARC is correct is a question for you. So very, very important question. ARCs primarily serve as the investment vehicle for the foreign investors to enter the Indian banking sector. ARCs are set up to assist banks by taking over high-value non-performing assets and allowing the banks to focus on their regular activities. ARCs are regulatory bodies established by the RBI to oversee the governance practices of the banks. The main function of ARCs is to provide loans to small and medium enterprise. ARCs are only responsible for the recovery of loans given to the government-owned entities. So what can be the answer of this question? Yes. Answer of this question is एक बार आंसर देख लेते हैं. Yes, answer is true. Absolutely right. Very good answer. So ARCs are set to assist the banks by taking over the high value non-performing asset and allowing banks to focus on the regular activity. That is basically job of the ARC. That the ARC wants that banks should focus on their business, and what are the bad loans, what are the recovery activities will be done or will be handled by these authorities. So yes, answer is absolutely right when it comes to the ARC part. Next question. RBI Consumer Confidence Survey studied regional trends in consumer sentiments in India. The Consumer Confidence Survey revealed that overall spending in India is primarily driven by which of the following expenditures? Yes, guys. So what can be the answer here? Reserve Bank of India's Consumer Confidence Survey. So the question is regarding that. Travel, essential, arbitrary, luxury, or the investments. So what is the focus of this? Answer of this question is essential. Obviously, essential expenditures are the major focus over here. They are not going to focus on the luxuries. They are not going to focus on the other part. Oh, yes, absolutely right. So answer of this question is essential. We'll go to the next question. Exchange rate automation module introduced by CBIC marks a significant shift in the process of publishing exchange rate. Starting from the date will the ERAM become operational, replacing the previous manual method for notifying exchange rate for the facilitation of the trade. So exchange rate automation, ERAM, is a new concept which we have introduced. Earlier we used to handle it manually. Now automation is there. So of course question will be asked. So question is regarding date. From which date they are going to implement, or they are focusing on this ERAM. So answer of this question is from the 4th of July. It is already in process. It is already worked it on. So 4th of July is the answer of this question regarding ERAM become the operational. Remember one thing, they can ask the question regarding short form, full form. That can be the another section or another question for the exam point of view. We'll go to the next question. Deen Dayal Antyodaya Yojana, National Urban Livelihood Mission. Approximately how many urban poor households have been empowered through the creation of self-help groups, and over how many livelihoods have been created through skill training entrepreneurship as of July 2024? It's a very, very important for the exam point of view. Yes, so NULM, National Urban Livelihood Mission, is the focus over here. Answer of this question is 98 lakh. So over 98 lakh livelihood, sorry, approximately 98 lakh urban poor households have been empowered, and 38 lakh livelihoods have been created through the skill training. National urban livelihood and national rural livelihood, these two things we have. In both the schemes, basically, an urban and the rural area, we are trying to create opportunities for the job. We are trying to create opportunities for the businesses, and for that purpose, skill education is the most important criteria. Remember that either it's NULM or it's NRLM. For both, we have Deen Dayal Antyodaya Yojana, so common name is there. 2015 we gave this name. Another thing is that when it comes to livelihood, it about the job opportunity, and for the job opportunity or the business opportunity, skill education is important, and that's the case, and that's the scenario regarding these two schemes, NULM as well as NRLM. We'll go to the next question. Which project has the RBI joined to enable instant cross-border retail payments by interlinking domestic fast payment system? It's very easy. Many of the times we talked about this. So recently RBI joined a international forum so that there should be a faster cross-border payment. So this concept is created by Bank for International Settlement, BIS. The name is called Project Nexus. So Project Nexus is developed by Bank for International Settlement, which is in Basel, Switzerland. So answer is absolutely right here. Under the Amrut 2.0, incentives are provided to urban local bodies for which reforms, and 3,298.23 crore has been released to the states under the scheme for special assistance for states for capital investment 23-24. So again, a very important for the exam point of view. So incentives are provided to urban local bodies for which reforms, and 3,298.23 crore has been released to the states under the schemes for special assistance to states for capital investments. Yes. Answer of this question is property tax. Very good. Absolutely right answer. Absolutely right. Bang on answers. Answer is property tax. That is a major focus over here. So Amrut Atal Mission for Rejuvenation and Urban Transformation. This is the name of the scheme. The scheme was created in year 2015. The second version of this scheme is going on right now under Housing Urban Affairs Ministry. So property tax is the criteria. Absolutely right answer. We'll go to the next question. A joint FATF APG EAG assessment has concluded that India has implemented counter-terrorist financing framework that is achieving good results. Authorities make good use of financial intelligence and cooperate effectively both domestic and internationally. The FATF, founded in 1989, initially aimed at develop measures to combat. So FATF headquarters is in Paris. It was created in 1989. What is the major role, or what is the initial role of FATF? Then FATF is working on many other factors right now, but the initial role of FATF was, yes, answer is money laundering. Now FATF also working with the terrorist financing. The FATF is also working with the mass weapon trafficking, like weapons for the mass killing, mass destruction. So they are working on that part also. So yes, initially they started working with the money laundering. Absolutely right. This is a little bit a bigger question. LFPR, that is the labor force participation rate, which we saw recently, is the usual status for person age 15 years and above in 23-24. So which of the following statement is true? Which statement is absolutely correct here? So can you give me the answer of this question? We are talking about the labor force participation rate. LFPR for males in both rural and urban areas increased. LFPR for female in urban areas remained constant. Then overall LFPR rural areas decreased. Then LFPR females in rural areas increased, whereas LFPR males in rural areas decreased. Answer of this question is the 3. Okay, female rural areas increased from 23 to 3% in to 41.7% in 23-24 if you compare with 17-18. Whereas in urban areas, the growth is not that much, but for the rural areas, the things are absolutely correct. So answer is 4 for this particular question. So very good. Labor Ministry gives this data, and under their data, we have this labor force participation rate. The market capitalization to GDP ratio the Indian stock market is the which numbers in the largest in the world. So market capitalization to GDP. So market capital of your stock exchanges with respect to the country's GDP. In that scenario, in that ratio, what is the rank of India for 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, or the 10th? Yes, answer of this question is 5th. India's rank is 5th. Absolutely right. So very good answer, guys. So 5th is the rank of India when it comes to market capital with GDP, with that combination, with that respect. Okay. So these were few questions for the revision part. Now we'll start with the session. We'll start discussing the important news for the day. Today's important news, and the most important news, is from the GST. A big announcement from the GST is going to come very soon. The reason is that I'll show you the reason. States for compensation says merger with 28% GST slab. This is a very big thing. Recently, GST Council created one committee called as a group of ministers. That committee was headed by पंकज चौधरी सर, जो हमारे देश के finance ministry में काम करते हैं. He's a deputy finance minister to Nirmala Sitharaman ji. So that group of ministers, the group was created, and that group suggested GST Council that all the states, almost all the states, are ready to merge compensation says with the 28% GST. Now, what exactly this is, what exactly this compensation says is, look, when we introduced GST in 2017, so many states, I will show you the compensation sales wala part first. So many states basically was in very trouble because the taxes which they used to get, those taxes were merged into GST. That's why there were some losses, and that's why to fulfill the losses, to fulfill minimum 14% of the losses, the central government and the state government together decided there will be a compensation stage. So there are some luxury goods, there are some thin goods, there are some kind of high profile goods जिनके ऊपर compensation sales collect किया जाएगा. That sales will go to the central government, and then central government will share that money to the state government after every second month or after every quarter. Normally we share after every second month. So compensation sales was extra taxes will be collected on few commodities. Which commodities? I will show you the commodities. I will show you the names of the commodities, will be much better for your understanding. For example, these smoking things like pipes and cigarettes, pan masala, motor vehicles, then caffeinated beverages, coal and lignite. So these were few things जिनके ऊपर compensation says लग रहा था. You can see 290%, 60%, 22%, 12%. Okay, like in that way we used to impose the compensation says. That amount of money used to go directly to the central government, and then central government used to distribute that money with the state government after every second month. But after COVID-19, what happened? This money distribution or this money sharing was not that much aligned, was not that much proper, and that's why many states face problem. Many states they complain. So basically, states were talking about the revenue shortfall. States were talking about the economic shortfall. States were talking about the more focus of the center, and that's why from many days, from the many months, many state governments were asking कि rather than imposing the compensation says, it's better आप उसे higher GST में डाल दीजिए. That is higher GST is 28%. So compensation sales को merge कर दीजिए with the higher GST, that is 28%. So what will happen? The thing will be, the money will directly go to the state government, because look, if 28% GST is being collected, half of the money will go to the central government, half of the money will go to the state government. The state government will not be like having a waiting period when central will transfer the money, central will transfer money properly or not, they are giving money or not. So all those thinkings, all those problems, all those like periods will be gone. Now the money will directly come to the state government, and that's why all the state governments, they requested GST Council that it's better just merge the compensation stage with the higher GST number, and which is the news right now. So I will go back to the news once again. So state finance minister suggests no new item in the list of luxury seen and demerit goods until the transition. So until we are making the transition, we are shifting the compensation part into the higher GST. Till that time, there should not be there should not be any new commodity into this category. So luxury seen means such kind of commodities creates a problem for the society. For example, smoking, okay, it creates a problem. Tobacco, it creates a problem. So such kind of goods are called as a sin goods. So we should not add any more sin goods into this list. This is a very big news. This is a very big announcement. Of course, the official announcement is yet to happen because state governments mentioned this to the GST Council. The committee was headed by Deputy Finance Minister of India. So of course, the central government will love that, and central government will accept this. This GST Council will accept this. If GST Council will accept this, it will go to the Parliament, and Parliament will give the green signal to this. So in future, there won't be compensation sales. Basically, compensation sales was created for 4 years only. Compensation sales was actually created for 4 years only. So 4 years are already done. So it's time to move on. It's time to progress. And that's the case. That's the scenario over here. So it's a good news. It's definitely good news, and definitely there will be questions, multiple questions in the exam. Remember that part. Okay. So sin goods. This was question asked in RBI Grade B exam. Sin goods means basically those goods जो आपसे पाप करवाएंगे. Okay. So that kind of goods. So this smoking, tobacco, these are all injurious to health as well as called as a sin goods. So remember that. Now we'll go to the next part. There is a little bit information about the GST which we all know about. Okay, which we all know about. So I don't think so we should spend much time on this discussing the GST 2017 One Nation One Indirect Tax. The GST tax slabs are 5, 12, 18, 28. 0 to 5 is also one of the area where we can put few essential commodities into that. Some commodities attract the 0% GST, some commodities can attract 1%, 2%, 3%. So 0 to 5% is one of the range where essential commodities we can put, but the other things are 5, 12, 18, 28. There is another committee which is working that we should merge some tax slabs. So GST Council is also thinking that they are going to merge few tax slabs, but it's not it happen in future, might be. And another thing will happen in the future, means mostly next year or after that. This thing is definitely going to happen. The petroleum products will come under GST, not this year but obvious, but next year most probably the petroleum products will come under GST. Chances are very bright. Anyways, we'll move forward, and there is another big news. The news is big because in the last 20 years, it is only the second time that manufacturing jobs outpaces the sector growth. Now, the manufacturing sector growth of our country, as per the annual survey of industries, calculated by Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation. So, according to this annual survey, which comes yearly, but obvious, given by the Ministry of Statistics Program Implementation, India's manufacturing growth is at 4.23. So I will write down over here, manufacturing growth is 4.23% right now. Whereas the job growth in manufacturing sector is 7.43. So the sector is growing with a lower pace, or sector is growing with the 4.23% pace, whereas the jobs in manufacturing sector is growing like anything, is like 7.43. It's a good news. It's actually a good news. Okay, but it cannot be same for always, because if the sector is growing very slowly, then some or the other time there will be unemployment level in the manufacturing sector, because many companies are going to give the pink slip to many of their employees. They are going to create the resignation scenario in the companies, or there will be a firing in the companies. But right now it's a good news because it shows that there is a future prospect. That's why people started hiring. The company started hiring the people, okay, because there's a future prospect, a bright future prospect. But if the growth remains same, then this extra hiring can create the huge problem for the companies, and there will be a firing scenario, there will be a pink slip scenario. That's why right now it looks good. Hope so for future it should reflect into the end product, that manufacturing sector will grow properly. Another reason for this, and it will again give the good boost in coming future, might be this number will increase again. The reason is that Government of India recently created 3 schemes under budget. They announced 3 schemes under budget, out of which second scheme, scheme B of employment, is focusing on manufacturing job. In that scheme, in the second scheme, what Government of India mentioned, any additional employment, especially focusing in the manufacturing sector, if companies are creating, again manufacturing sector, then for 4 years, the PF contribution will be handled by Government of India, for employee as well as for the employer. So whatever the PF contribution is there for employee as well as employer will be handled by Government of India for 4 years, especially for the manufacturing jobs. Scheme A and Scheme B is not only focusing on manufacturing job. Scheme A, Scheme B talked about overall jobs, but Scheme B is focusing on the manufacturing job. For 4 years, the contribution will be by the government, and which is a good news. That's why the employer or the companies will be very enthusiastic to hire more people, and the future looks good. So that is a report given by Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation, which is important for the exam point of view. Okay. Which type of questions can be asked on GST? Okay, look, when it comes to GST, but obviously there are multiple questions. What is compensation says? What is sin good? What is the higher taxes? Exactly what amount of compensation says we implement? So what are the data which I have shown you? Everything can be the question. Again, when it comes to GST, every line will give you a question. GST tax slabs, when GST was introduced, what is the Constitutional Amendment Act, what is one nation, one tax, what type of taxes subsume under GST. So everything will be the question. So when it comes to GST, each and every line, each and every point is the question for the exam point of view. Remember that. Either a 1 marker question or the 2 marker question. Few of the questions were already asked. Obviously, they are not going to repeat some questions, like for example, Constitutional Amendment Act and the tax slabs and the taxes subsume. These questions were already asked, but you never know. Sometimes examiner wants to check the knowledge through multi-statement questions. So every line or every statement is a question when it comes to GST. When it comes to this particular news, the first question will be ASI report. Who gives this report? Then the second question is regarding the manufacturing sector's job growth and the manufacturing sector's overall growth. And what are the reasons behind that? That can be the another question. And what will be the implication of that? That can be the another question when it comes to the answer writing. So remember that particular point. Now, want multiple methanol plants in 7 years. Niti member, Niti Ayog. Now they talked about the methanol plants. Why methanol plants? Because we want to create a flexi fuel. We want to create a ethanol or the methanol based fuel, and for that reason 7 more plants should be there. If we'll increase the manufacturing, it will be more useful for the energy demand or to fulfill the energy demand. Methanol or the ethanol plants will be helpful for 2 angles. One is the energy angle, because we can mix with the petrol, we can mix with the diesel. Another thing is that doubling the income of farmer, because this methanol and ethanol can be created by using the leftover things of agriculture, the waste things of the agriculture, and that's why doubling the income of farmer will be there. Yesterday only Supreme Court asked Punjab and Haryana government, I will not say ask, Supreme Court basically gave the very hard statements to Punjab and Haryana government that you are not doing the adequate job for the stubble burning issues or the air pollution issues. We are trying a lot that the farmers, rather than burning their stubble, burning their waste material, they should use that to create methanol, ethanol or biogas, whatever. Okay, that's why we require more and more plants. जितने ज्यादा प्लांट्स बनेंगे, जितना ज्यादा इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर बनेगा, ये चीजें ऑटोमेटिकली कम हो जाएगी. दैट विल बी द मेजर इंपॉर्टेंट सिनेरियो. ओके, सो रिमेंबर दैट. बाय द वे, the new Chief Justice of India is, the name is kind of announced. So Justice Khanna, Justice Sanjeev Khanna will be the next Chief Justice of India, because Chandrachud Saab is going to retire in the month of November. 10th of November might be his last date, and after that Justice Khanna will be the new Chief Justice of India. Obviously his name is suggested by Chief Justice of India, so outgoing Chief Justice suggests the name of his successor. So that is a pattern in our country. So he gave the name of his successor. Now this name will go to the President of India. President of India, in consultation with the cabinet, will finalize it and then sign it. Of course, whichever the name is given by the Chief Justice, usually उसी को फाइनल करते हैं, किसी और को फाइनल नहीं करते. तो आप अभी बहुत रेयरेस्ट ऑफ द रेयर टाइम ऐसा होता है कि आउटगोइंग चीफ जस्टिस ने जिसका नाम सजेस्ट किया उसको सिलेक्ट नहीं किया गया, तो मोस्टली खन्ना साहब ही बनेंगे. एंड खन्ना साहब विल बी ओनली फॉर 6 months. because he is going to retire in the month of May 2025. So his tenure will be very short, but Chief Justice of India and 51st Chief Justice of India will be the big news for the exam. So remember that part. We'll go to the next news. Andhra CM unveils 6 policies to create 2 million jobs. Now there are multiple policies. You need not to remember the name of the policies. First thing I want to tell you, when it comes to state news, there are no forced or there is no requirement to remember the name of their yojnas, name of their policies. But one thing we should know, if some state government working on employment generation policy, so this can be the case study for answer writing if there are questions when it comes to the employment or the job creation in the country. And every year, damn every year, one or the other question, in that question you can include the data of employment, you can include the data of unemployment, employment in the country. So definitely every year कोई ना कोई क्वेश्चन होता ही है जहां पे आप इसे यूज कर सकते हो. तो for the case study point of view, so Andhra Pradesh CM Chandrababu Naidu recently announced that 2 million jobs will be created in the state very soon, and with the innovative ideas. These are not only jobs, these jobs will be depending on the new technology, the jobs will be depending on the new education system. So that's a very good thing. So who are completing their educations right now, they are going to get the jobs. The job security will be there for the state. Again, Andhra Pradesh is a kind of a backward state when it comes to infrastructure, when it comes to job creation, economy. So again, will be really very helpful for the state. That will be enough for the exam. Now we'll go to the next news, and which is really very important for us. The cumulative overall export during the April-September 24 is estimated 393.22 billion with comparison with the last year. Last year it was 375 billion, and this year it will be 393.22 billion. So there is a little bit increase in the export when it comes to the recent data of the Commerce Ministry. So Commerce Ministry gave this data from April to September. That is the data which they are presented. So let's talk about that, what exactly they are talking, what exactly they are mentioning. Now, according to the government or according to the Commerce Ministry, merchandise export growth, okay, the cumulative value of the merchandise export from April 24 is 213.22 billion, okay, in comparison with the last year 21108. So there is an increase when it comes to merchandise export. Under merchandise export, non-petroleum, non-gems jewelry export is also increased. So non-petroleum, non-gems and jewelry, if this export is increasing, means we are actually doing a very good job. So we are not depending on the petroleum only, or we are not depending on the gems and jewelry only. That's a good sign. So drivers of export, so engineering goods highest, then organic, inorganic chemicals, okay, also doing a very good job. Then plastic, then drugs and pharmaceuticals increase with 7.22. It's a very good sign. And ready-made garments is having the upward direction, the growth of 17.30%. The maximum growth is in the plastic section. Okay, if we'll talk about the overall number, obviously engineering is at the top overall number, but we'll talk about the percentage wise. Plastic is at the top, and then the ready-made garments. So PM Mitra, or what are the focus on the textile is working, actually is actually giving the good fruits. And Bangladesh issue is also helping India, because Bangladesh was the country जो रेडीमेड टेक्सटाइल में काफी अच्छा काम कर रही थी. Now the growth in India shows that the Bangladesh effect is there absolutely. PM Mitra's effect is yet to be resulted, but we can say Bangladesh effect is there. So this is a kind of just image. Okay, yeah, this is the complete data which is mentioned over here regarding different type of export, जो आपके एग्जाम के लिए जरूरी होगा, आपके एग्जाम के लिए क्रूशियल रहेगा. ठीक है, चलो we'll go to the next part. The repayment of 6.18% government securities 2024. Government of India, last time if you remember हमने discuss किया था कि Government of India and RBI announced that they are going to the repurchase government bonds, repurchase government securities. So it was already done, like 25,000 crore was the target, and near about 24.4 thousand crore was the recovered or repurchased by the Government of India with the help of RBI. Now another repurchase is going to happen. So 6.18% government securities are going to be repurchased by the Government of India. So we'll talk about that. So outstanding balance of 6.18% government securities in 24 will be repaid as per the November 4, 24. From this date, no further interest will occur. So basically, Government of India is working on this data because they want to consolidate their fiscal deficit. They want to reduce their fiscal deficit, and that's why such kind of news will be there. आपको इस न्यूज में ना ज्यादा टाइम बर्बाद नहीं करना है, ज्यादा टाइम नहीं डालना है, ये सिर्फ एक अपडेट है. अपडेट में बस एक बात याद रखना, जब भी ऐसी न्यूज आती है कि जब गवर्नमेंट अपने बॉन्ड्स को रीपर्चेस कर रहा है, गवर्नमेंट इंटरेस्ट रेट्स पे कर रहा है, तो गवर्नमेंट अपने फिस्कल डेफिसिट को या फिस्कल कंसोलिडेशन प्लान के ऊपर वर्क कर रहा है ताकि फ्यूचर में नंबर्स अच्छे दिख सके. हमें बोरो तो करना पड़ेगा, ऑब्वियसली वी नीड टू बोरो. हम थोड़े लॉन्ग टर्म के हिसाब से बोरो करेंगे, पर जो अभी अभी के बोरोविंग्स है उसको अगर फिनिश करना है तो कर दीजिए. तो मोस्टली क्या होता है, सपोज दिसंबर 25, नवंबर 24, दिसंबर 24 या फेब या अप्रैल 25, उसके जितने भी बॉन्ड्स होंगे, नियर बाय बॉन्ड्स, उनको गवर्नमेंट रिपर्चेस कर लेती है और पैसा दे देती है. बिकॉज नेक्स्ट फाइनेंशियल ईयर में आपका डेफिसिट कम दिखेगा, आपका डेफिसिट कम दिखेगा. फिर वापस एक बार पैसा बोरो करेगी फॉर लॉन्गर पीरियड. फॉर एग्जांपल दिस, वापस एक बार पैसा बोरो करेगी फॉर द लॉन्गर पीरियड. अब यहाँ पे जो पैसा बोरो किया गया फॉर एग्जांपल 2039 के हिसाब से, या फॉर एग्जांपल दे बोरोड मनी फॉर द 2031 के हिसाब से, और दे बोरोड मनी फ्रॉम द 2054 के हिसाब से. फॉर लॉन्गर टर्म दे विल बोरो मनी अगेन. सो दिस इज द स्टैंडर्ड प्रैक्टिस कि नियर बाय बॉन्ड्स को रिपर्चेस कर लो तो फिस्कल डेफिसिट का रिसेंट नंबर कम दिखाई देगा. सो इट विल लुक गुड, everything will be like hunky dory. But actually what government is doing, for the short term they are reducing fiscal deficit, okay, but for the long term they are borrowing money at the same time. Okay, so this is a standard practice, this is a standard bookkeeping practice which government of India is handling, and the same thing is happening here. So remember that, so don't get confused. Now MSP, we talked about MSP at our 6 a.m. session, but this is very important for the exam also. So every year Kharif, and before the Kharif season and before the Rabi season, MSP numbers announced by the government of India. So government announced the MSP numbers for the Rabi season. There will be of course increase. MSP, minimum support price, it is given for 22 crops, and FRP, fair and remunerative price, for the one crop, that is sugarcane. The MSP numbers are recommended by CSEP. CSEP gives these numbers, Commission for Agriculture Cost and Prices. They considered various factors, and by calculating all the factors, they suggest the MSP revision numbers, and these numbers will be finalized by the Committee on Economic, so Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs, which is always headed by the Prime Minister of India. Again, they are going to finalize, and this CSEP is going to give or recommend the new numbers. Now the calculations are depending on some factors. The factors are, we discussed those factors already, but before that we have 22 mandated crops for which MSP should be given, and one for the fair and remunerative price. Okay, so remember that 14 crops for the Kharif season, 6 for the Rabi season, and 2 other for the commercial crop. So this is a division basically. This is a classification. So Kharif के लिए crop ज़्यादा है, Rabi के लिए crop थोड़े से कम है. ये classification भी थोड़ा सा याद रखेगा, exam के लिए जरूरी बनेगा. Now, like I have mentioned, these calculations are done depending on few things. For example, A2, FL, and C2. These three things are very important. A2 stands for the whatever the money which farmers are investing into the farm. For example, seeds, fertilizers, pesticides, hired labor, leased in land, fuel, irrigation, etc. So the basic cost for the agriculture comes under A2. Then FL is called as the family labor. If the family is also involved in the agriculture, then family labor should be calculated. And the third thing will be called as a C2. C2 means if the farmer took loan on the land, then interest payment. If the farmer rented that land, then the rent amount, that will be also calculated. So A2, FL, C2. C2 concept was actually recommended by the MS Swaminathan committee, which is already in discussion right now, how to include the C2 properly. So A2, FL, and C2, these three things are there. Now, like I have mentioned, there are 6 Rabi crops. So 6 Rabi crops are here: wheat, barley, gram, then masoor, then mustard, and the sunflower. So 6 crops are there, and the new MSP is already mentioned over here. You need not to remember the numbers. You need not to remember the numbers unless and until you are giving the NABARD exam. If you are not giving the NABARD exam, there is no need to remember the number. Even for the NABARD exam, there is no compulsion that आपको number पता ही होने चाहिए, ऐसा कोई compulsion नहीं होता है. But these 6 crops are there and the new numbers for the 25-26 given by the government of India. Again, there can be a revision. There can be a revision if required. If something happened, if some issues happen with the natural issues or the climatic changes, then there can be a revision when it comes to these numbers of the MSP. Remember that particular point. Okay. Yes, so last news is about the Diwali gift by the government of India to central government employees and the dearance allowance of 3%. So additional 3% dearance allowance will be given on the 50% basic of government employees. This is only for the government employees. So dearance allowance for those who are getting the salaries, and dearance relief will be for those who are getting the pension. So for those employees as well as pensionaries, this 3% dearance allowance is given. It is a regular practice, by the way. It is nothing new. Every year during the festival season, these dearance allowances are basically announced by the government of India. Before Diwali, usually they announce that. नॉर्मली ऐसा होता है दशहरे के टाइम पे अनाउंसमेंट हो जाती है, बट इस बार थोड़ा सा दिवाली के पहले पहले अनाउंसमेंट वैसे कर दिए और जो नॉर्मली देखने को मिलेगा. तो ये भी एक पॉइंट याद रखना. एंड दिस कैलकुलेशंस विल बी, मैं डेट भी आपको बता दूं क्योंकि डेट आपके लिए बहुत मैटर करेगी. दिस कैलकुलेशंस विल बी फ्रॉम द 1st of July 2024. तो 1st जुलाई से जो भी है वो पैसा मिलेगा, तो वहां से कैलकुलेट होगा. तो जुलाई, अगस्त, सितंबर के अक्टूबर का भी पैसा अभी तो जुड़ ही जाएगा. तो 3 महीने का एक्स्ट्रा अमाउंट सैलरी में देखने को मिलेगा. जब नेक्स्ट मंथ की सैलरी आएगी, सैलरी विल लुक वेरी हेवी. ओके, so it's a Diwali bumper, Diwali bonanza. Okay, but the money will come obviously next month and the huge money will be there in the salary account. But again, for the government employees, the bank employees will get a different way of calculations under DA. But anyways, dearance allowance are calculated depending on one factor called as the consumer price index for industrial worker. So CPI IW is the way through which we calculate these dearance allowances. CPI IW is calculated by, again, Labor Bureau of the Labor Ministry. They will calculate that. 2016 is the base year for CPI IW. That's all guys from my side for the day. We'll see you in the next session. Next lecture में आपसे मुलाकात होगी. Next session में आपसे हम बातचीत करेंगे हमारे और कुछ न्यूज को लेके और कुछ सवालों को लेके. लेक्चर के स्टार्टिंग में ज्वाइन करने की कोशिश कीजिए बिकॉज वी डिस्कस फ्यू एमसीक्यूज इन द बिगिनिंग एंड दोज एमसीक्यूज आर रियली वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट फॉर द रिवीजन पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू एंड देन रेस्ट ऑफ द न्यूज. दैट्स ऑल गाइस. बाय बाय, टेक केयर, सेफ रहिए, सुरक्षित रहिए और पढ़ते रहिएगा. बाय.